which track do you feel like plays slightly differently when you're watching the film versus when you're listening to the album? Like what track benefits the most from seeing it in the context of the movie?
You are hurting everyone around you. Something has to change.
See you again.
Good to see you, Griffin.
How's everything been since Waves? It's obviously
good, man.
Yeah.
A lot has changed. A lot of life has been lived.
Yeah.
I'm now married, and we bought a house like a year or two ago.
That's crazy.
And yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
I'm good, man. I'm happy.
That's good. That's good. No, I'm glad to hear it. I really loved this film as a massive fan of The Weeknd and obviously like your work. I just think it's
no one's seen it yet, so I'm just so happy you saw it.
I know. It's like I mean that was one of the things. It's like I got out of the film. I was like, oh fuck, I can't talk to anyone about this because it's just no one's seen it yet.
It's a first for me because usually, like my movies are like usually at festivals and stuff first. So it's like I'm just so excited for people to see it. I'm so happy you saw it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that really struck me about it was just like how kind of like avant-garde it is. It's like very like formless and cerebral, which is very much like your thing. So I'm curious, like how did someone like Abel, I guess, enable you to still like kind of pursue those things that you've been perfecting over the years while still, you know, kind of supporting his vision along the way?
It was just, everything was so organic and easy. It was basically like we took a meeting that was like before we shot 2 years ago or something. My producers connected us. They said Abel had an idea for a movie. I was viewing the meeting as a pure opportunity just to like, oh, it'll be cool to meet The Weeknd. We'll see. Like, no way I'm making a movie with Abel after this, but who knows? And then shockingly, we just hit it off. I loved him.
Yeah.
I felt a genuine connection to him. I felt the genuine like love and respect he had for me and my films. We loved the same kind of movies. The starting point for an idea was, you know, kind of like attacking the most vulnerable kind of bad thing that's ever happened in his career. So that he was already, that was the fact that was jumping off point, and the fact that he had lost his voice, but it was actually psychological. All of these things were like firing off in my head that this could lead to something really special. And I got more inspired as so when I wrote Waves for the first time since I wrote Waves. Like for a second after Waves, I was like depressed. I didn't want to do anything. It was like going through a rough way. Developed movies, but nothing was like clicking the same way. Then this happened, and like the click happened. The lightning bolt happened. We met in October. We were shooting in February.
Oh wow!
Which
so it was
never happened.
Yeah. That really was like that.
Like I literally, we wrote the outline in November, had a draft by December, shooting in February. Never that fast. And for me, it was like the fact that, you know, I made a promise to myself after Krisha, my first film, only work with people you love.
Yeah.
Only work with people you genuinely connect with and love. I felt that with Abel, and the proof in the pudding to me was like when I presented a first outline before we started bouncing back and forth a ton. And every kind of bold swing with the movie, you know, and self-critical thing and vulnerable thing, he loved and was gung-ho for and excited for. And I was like, what other pop star in the world would be down to like base that stuff?
But it makes sense though, just because he's very cinematic, I think, in the way he makes music, but also just like his stage presence and everything like that. So I'm not surprised that there was like an energy there.
It's still, you just never, you know, like you get disappointments in life.
Sure,
so I was like walking into the kitchen with this outline to my wife, and I was like, dude, if we could make this could be really special and unique. He's never gonna let us do it, and the fact that he just, all along the way, it's actually been the smoothest experience making a movie since my first film, Krisha.
Really? That's so interesting, because I was gonna ask you about the writing process, because you are like one of 3 credited writers on there, Abel being one, and then yourself, and then
Rez. Sure.
So I was just kind of curious about that process, about what that was like for you and how it differed, or, you know, what compared to what you had done before, if it was like, if you were able to get that same
I was like, tried to make the show with HBO with my buddy that we were co-writing, had some movies I was developing, so like in that interim between Waves and here, I was already starting to break in on, and look, I'm already a super collaborative person. Like when I make something, I'm crazy collaborative. So it's like doing that in the writing phase is really fun. So here, again, it was effortless and natural. It was like bounce back and forth, supportive ideas, good ideas. If there was anything that I, like maybe if they had an idea and I wasn't jiving with it and I explained why, they're like, oh yeah, perfect, cool, let's move on. So it was like, it was just a supportive, beautiful thing the whole time. I don't know.
Well, I think the cool thing about this is that it's not only a companion piece to like the album he just released, but it is like very much its own thing. And I have to imagine that's kind of like a hard needle to thread, because they're you know, visual albums or companion albums are obviously very popular nowadays, and so the line between like feature-length music video and then also like a true narrative film, it blurs a little bit. So how did you approach threading that needle? Because I thought you did it very effectively.
Thank you. And I mean, for me, it was easy because Abel was very smart about it. He didn't meet me and he wasn't like, here's an album, make me a movie. It was like, let's have an idea for a movie. And he was like, maybe it becomes an album too. And they're all connected, but he just treated it as movies number one. And he would send me music that wasn't even complete songs. It was primarily instrumental demos. It was like I wasn't beholden to some structure I had to do. He was open and supportive, and we just made this movie, and then he would make music for it along the way, and that would go to post-production too. And we would never wanted to settle and just like, you know, honestly, at times, sonically, the most boring thing was just taking the exact song from the album and putting it in the movie. The more exciting stuff to Abel, Dan, and I were when, you know, like as an example, in the scene when, I don't want to spoil stuff, but he starts passing out on the airplane, we're going to his headspace. In the edit, I had put a Nina Simone track in there, and then Abel sampled that on the album, and Dan chopped it up, and they made a whole song out of that. But then it was like, then we like put that to picture for a second, and we were like, this feels like a music video. This doesn't feel like a movie. This feels wrong. And then Dan did original score to it. And then for a second, he put Nina's voice in there. We were like, no, I think it's just score. And then we added a choir. And then it's to where like people that don't know the album and see the movie, hopefully it's just this beautiful thing sonically and a beautiful piece of score. Then people that know the album, if you actually listen, realize the song Given Up On Me and the Nina Simone sample in there is actually connected to this piece of score in the movie. So for me, it was just beautiful and awesome to have these supportive collaborators that just never wanted to settle for the standard thing and push and do something unique. And I think for me, big thing going into this, I didn't want to do a visual album. I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to make a movie. And I wanted to like try to use music in the way we did in Waves, but push it further, because now we're not just licensing songs. We're having the people that are making those songs and making our score interconnect, and we just try to do the freshest, most unique thing we can with it, you know? So it was like a dream scenario for me.
Well, I was gonna, I mean, I have listened to that album on repeat ever since it came out, just because it's such,
I love it so much.
It's so complete. It is like the culmination of him as an artist, which I also think applies to this film as well. But I'm curious for you, like, which track do you feel like plays slightly differently when you're watching the film versus when you're listening to the album? Like, what track benefits the most from seeing it in the context of the movie?
I gotta go with the title track. With Hurry Up Tomorrow.
Okay,
I think that song is kind of the heartbeat of the movie and what it's building to, and where he goes emotionally with that. Like, I think it's already a beautiful emotional song, but I just have a feeling when fans of that album and that song see Abel at the end of this movie doing it in that way, I hope it's a powerful thing. It was powerful for me filming it.
Totally. I want to kind of ask about this idea that I think is kind of pervasive throughout the film, which is just like having the courage to be honest with ourselves as artists, which I think is like, if you are an artist, if you're a filmmaker, that is essential to the process. So I'm kind of curious for you, over your course of your career and your life, how have you learned to be honest with yourself and maybe come to terms with those parts of your career that you maybe have struggled to reconcile with?
Absolutely. I mean, a big thing for me is taking it back to my parents being therapists, and like. Oh,
really? I had no idea. That's crazy.
They are. My mom and my stepdad are both therapists, and I also think I would be like a mess of a human without them growing up. I think it could backfire. I could be a mess because they're therapists, but actually they were very good and healthy about me owning up to my own flaws and being open with communication and confront. Look, it's still hard. We're sloppy humans, all of us, you know? So it's a messy, sloppy thing. But I think for me, the more I can just be transparent and honest it helps me with every aspect in my life. It's easier said than done, you know? But it's also what I really, like, I love making movies about it, especially like to me, like Krisha, my first movie, and this movie, they're ultimately both about self-reflection. Like self-reflection, you gotta stare at yourself in the mirror to like really address your own soul and address your own headspace and where you're actually at, and be honest with yourself and own up to all the bad shit you have too, to like grow and be a better person. But yeah, for this movie, like, you know, what it's building to, like, desperate times call for desperate measures. Like,
like
for Jenna's
sure.
got to give him a wake up call. Like, dude, you got some work to do.
Yeah, for sure. And that also that like, this self-destructive kind of like pursuit of excellence that I feel like has always been in every single one of your movies. It still managed to find its way in here. And I think that's what I loved, is that it is a Trey Edward Shults film through and through. And I think that's...
Thank you so much for that. That was very important for me, and Abel was so supportive with that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I love the movie. I think people are gonna dig it.
I can't wait.